Hello everybody, my name is Young Falcon, and today we're going to be talking about the destruction of the Nintendo eShop for the Wii U and 3DS platforms. First, I get it. I get why they're taking out the 3DS and Wii U eShops. They're harder to support. The service costs a lot of money to keep out security loopholes and do what they need to do to keep them fresh and make sure they don't get taken down and all of that. And I get why they want to not, I guess, have such a loss in supporting services that no one's really using and utilizing, if you will. And that's okay. I get it. I really do. My issue isn't with the services closing. I think a lot of people are getting confused by that, and this kind of leads directly into the fan response and the dichotomy of the gaming world, if you will. First things first, let's get a little bit of deja vu in here. Let's talk about Sony. Remember when the PS Store was closing for Vita and PSP? And everyone unanimously, even the most diehard Sony fan, pretty much rose and said, this is stupid. These stores shouldn't close because there's no way to play a lot of these PS3 classics on, say, the PS5. Infamous, Infamous 2, Resistance 1 through 3, Killzone 1 through 3, games of that nature. No way to play them on PS4 and 5. That's stupid. And all the fans got up and agreed and were like, and we don't want to pay the OD exuberant amount of prices that will inevitably happen because of how the retro game market works, where, say, games get closed or they become rare, the prices get jacked up. Same with the console, and it causes a whole domino effect, if you will. We've seen it time in and time again. So, fair. And Sony listened, and they kept those storefronts open, hopefully until the inevitable opening of their subscription service or whatever they're going to do to bring us classic games on PS5 and PS4, or maybe only on PS5. I don't know what they have to do. Until that day comes, these storefronts have to stay open. That is the point I'm getting at. With Nintendo, it is the same exact ordeal, but this one to an even bigger extent. This one to a massive extent. And what I'm getting at is, let's kind of look at the destruction that's already happened with the closing of the Wii Shop channel, right? When the Wii Shop channel closed, we lost a ton of WiiWare games, right? Excite Bike World Challenge, Fast Racing League, Final Fantasy My Life as a Dark Ward, Fluidity, Defend Your Castle, etc., and a ton of other classics. And even moving on from that, NES and SNES titles that were on the Wii Shop channel have yet to be ported or moved over to the NSO service, which is why people, even though we get it, we're glad the subscription service is there, it still is lacking. It's the drip feed of content. It's the fact that there's barely any notable big games on there. It's the fact that some people release their own collections and gatekeep it from being on NSO, like, say, a Castlevania Resurrection collection or Neo Geo games or whatever, doing their ACA lineups on Nintendo Switch, PS4, and everything of that nature for like $8 and whatnot. Like, it's the fact that those things are a thing, and it's still a really cool way to support those developers, but it also detracts from the NSO service. So it is just a little bit of a double whammy of companies finally doing what they should have been doing from the jump, and not having to go through Nintendo, and also Nintendo just not doing what they should be doing to support their own service, right? So let's look at the Wii U Virtual Console and the eShop games, along with the 3DS Virtual Console and eShop games. We're going to be losing. Over 1,000 games are going to be completely removed. 70 plus on Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. 30 DS games, about 35 Wii games, 40 TurboGrafx 16, a slew of SNES and NES titles that have yet to be ported to the NSO service. Hopefully they will in the near future. And my personal favorite, 0 GameCube games, of which have yet to be on a Nintendo platform in any backwards compatibility way, unless, once again, Nintendo proves me wrong in the near future. The eShop titles we're going to be losing on the Wii U side, things like Dr. Luigi, Pushmo World, Affordable Space Adventures, etc., completely gone. 3DS titles like Dylan Rolling Western, Fluidity Spin Cycle, Harmonite, Tokyo Crash Mobs, Liberation Maiden, Steel Empire, Ironfall Invasion, I could go on and on and on and on, completely gone. It's ridiculous. If you can sit here and be okay with the amount of games I've listed, those are my personal favorites, among the slew of others, and you're okay with that, not to mention region locking, which means you're still gonna have to step into the legal gray area of modifying your console to play certain titles because you may not have a physical version of that game. If you want to import it and pay tribute to, say, a retro guy who's collecting and selling games and whatnot, and you want to help him out, and you want an American copy of SMT4, because I don't believe it released physically in Europe or places like that, and you want to play that game in some way, in English or whatever, maybe, you got to import it and hack your console and play that. That's not okay. Do you guys see where I'm coming from? Do you see how much work people have to do now? It's stupid. The region locking stuff is not good, etc. Like, the point is, this isn't good, right? At the end of the day, this is just a bad thing. When the fan response comes to Nintendo, it is a completely different ballgame. There's always, they always are more quote retweeted and more retweeted and whatever, in agreement of the fact that, you know what, it's okay that Nintendo's closing it. Or my personal favorite, it's not that we agree with it, but it is what it is. It's just a matter of time kind of thing. And that's okay. I get how you can think that. I just disagree heavily because we're losing way too many games for this to just be one of those, it's life kind of things. Like, no. Especially considering the company we're dealing with. And we'll, again, get into that later. I really don't like the people that are bashing on others who are upset about the topic and saying stuff like, well, you never owned a Wii U or 3DS to begin with, so why do you care? Or you weren't going to go buy one to begin with, or you still have time, you still have a year to go buy a Wii U and stuff, which we'll delve into all of that later. And I just don't like that aspect or angle either, because it's not fair. Like, it's not fair to get on other people for being mad about the same topic you should be out there fighting for. Like, why are you letting the randoms carry the Trojan horse? You know what I'm saying? It should be you on the front lines, not having a pity party contest about which Nintendo fan is truly affected. Like, it's not about that. It's about losing people's art, work, history, time, effort, etc. completely gone from a developer standpoint. From a consumer standpoint, great titles, great games that I personally really resonated with, really loved, really enjoyed, getting removed, revoked, destroyed in front of my very eyes, and I can't do anything because it's Nintendo and they don't care about preserving anything, as we've seen time and time again. Even on the Wii era, they barely preserved some of their games when they did Wii Virtual Console. It's insane what people go through. So for the people that also dial it back, argue, just go buy the console, I got you, sure. Let's go on eBay and let's look up buying a Wii U. And it's around about $150 to $130, not too bad. The downside is that's the rare couple you'll find with a gamepad or that work. A lot of the times it's for parts only, or console only, or gamepad only, or whatever it may be. And then on top of that, they just aren't selling. You scroll down the first page and you basically stop seeing Wii U's because people aren't selling their Wii U like that. Probably because it's a niche console that was niche when it launched and niche till the end, so people are holding on to it. So yes, it's already just getting harder and harder to find one. That is insane. And then once March 2023 hits and the eShop closes and people are really going to be hyping on that FOMO bandwagon, the prices in the retro game scene are going to jump exponentially, whether you want the games physically or you just want the console with the games physically. It's going to go from like $150, whatever it is now, to probably, I'm assuming, $300, $400, like the price of a whole Oculus Quest. That is OD. That's how the retro game market works. We've already seen it time and time again. This is ridiculous how anyone could defend this. It's ridiculous how anyone could be okay with what's going on right now. But Young Falcon, we have one last bastion. Don't get too upset. Piracy, right? We have piracy. And to that I say, we absolutely do. But let me tell you why backing up all of these 3DS and Wii U games and WiiWare and etc. eventually stops working after a while. And it all comes down to the sites and file hosters and etc. that we use to keep these things afloat. So let's say we have a site that puts stuff on whatever file hosting site they want to use, and Nintendo decides, hey guys, we're dropping a re-release of the GameCube Classic Chibi Robo for GameCube. And they look over and they do their little Control F, they go on Google and look up Chibi Robo ROMs and they spin the wheel, right? They spin the wheel and they stumble across insert site here. And they go to that site and they go, hey, I'm gonna need that site to be taken down. We're gonna need with the DMCA takedown notice, or what they usually do is just straight up sue. And then they do it over and over and over again until basically there's no more things left, until eventually we don't have any more ROM sites, because that's just how Nintendo operates, and that's what they've been doing since 3DS era, if anyone remembers and has been around. Like Emu Paradise, so many sites have just been completely removed and taken down and gone, because that's how Nintendo operates if you have a sliver of any of their ROMs, right? And that also ties hand in hand with emulators, because they work really well with the ROM sites. You are assumed, regardless of what you want to do in terms of preserving these two consoles more so than any other console before, you have to basically double dip into that legal gray area of modifying your devices, whether you want to modify them to rip that game out and play it on your emulator, or whether you want to, do what you need to do to play those games off of an emulator using whatever various methods you see fit. That's my point that I'm getting across. Or, vice versa, playing on authentic hardware because you don't have access to Liberation Maiden anymore and you want to play that game 2023, and you're gonna have to go through some hoops and jumps to play that game on authentic hardware. Do you guys see kind of why I'm upset, where I'm coming from? That just isn't okay. That's why I'm getting so just builds up and upset about this situation in particular, because Nintendo has proven time and time again they just don't care. And I'm emphasizing that because we're entering my final point. Nintendo doesn't care. The preservation even for Virtual Console was shoddy, to say the least. Like that's the reason why we were upset. That's why he said maybe do a subscription service, it'd be better. And turns out it's okay, it's doing so, but that N64 emulation is a straight up joke. We still don't have Game Boy games, we still don't have Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, we still don't have DS, we still don't have 3DS, we still don't have Wii, we still don't have GameCube. I gotta emphasize that again, we do not have GameCube in any way across all 3 generations. Like, we do not have a GameCube player at all, even though it's been shown they have a functioning GameCube emulator with Super Mario Galaxy running on the 3D All-Stars Collection and Super Mario Sunshine. Like, it boggles my mind that these things haven't made their way to VC yet. And the way you guys keep defending this online service, even though it treats you like utter garbage, isn't cool. Like, dude, you know it's not Square's fault, right? Like, I know they could easily get Super Mario RPG running on SNES NSO, but it's like, it feels like they're at the point where they just preserve games and just shadow drop them for no reason. Like, it's ridiculous the amount of games we still don't have on that platform. And I know for a fact it's not because they're doing, I don't know, a Tactics Ogre collection in the near future. I highly doubt that. I just think that Nintendo doesn't necessarily really care, to be blunt with you, to get those games and keep it a constant stream. And I don't even think the games are monthly. They just drop whenever they drop. It's ridiculous. Like, you should not defend this. There is no defending this. Look at Microsoft. Look at all the backwards compatibility titles they have and that they've been building for months upon months. Did they have their lulls, their periods where there weren't games? Absolutely. But they were transparent about it. They couldn't get the licenses to everything. They couldn't get their, things set. And even despite that, it is a healthy chunk of games. It is a huge library of backwards compatibility titles that get either upgraded or enhanced or whatever it may be through the Series X and Xbox One X platforms or whatever device you're using. That's still a really big deal in my opinion. And the fact that you can still just pop in any of your old disc and get to playing, yeah, I'm actually going to give my hats off to them and give kudos, because that's a pretty big deal in my opinion once again. So yeah, I still disagree with what Nintendo's doing. Same with PlayStation. You guys gotta make these games more preservable. And that's my biggest issue, is the fact that Nintendo not only doesn't put their games up for me to be able to play them, but also goes out of their way to take down anything pretty much immediately after they already give you no options. They give you no other option but to pirate. Biggest example is the GameCube library. They give you no other example but to pirate these games. And you have no other choice because Nintendo does nothing for you to back up these titles. That's what's so frustrating. And they're just removing it completely. And they're going to do it again when the Wii U and 3DS eShop inevitably close. Like, some of the greatest games on 3DS are just going to go away. Where's Kid Icarus Uprising going to be, man? Where's like Mario Luigi Paper Jam, Dream Team, Luigi's Mansion 2, etc. The list goes on. And we probably just won't be able to play them or whatever unless you either can find them physically, which is already getting really hard and scalping is already becoming a huge issue, or you gotta pirate it or emulate it. Like, there's no in between. That's what's so frustrating as a Nintendo fan. So yeah. Overall, that's it. That's gonna do it for me. I just had to get this off my chest because I don't think we really understand the magnitude of the situation, because Nintendo actively goes after ROM sites, and they're like one of the only companies that I know of that does it like routinely. And that's what's the worrying part, is like, what happens if once this eShop closes and people, hosted Wii U ROMs or whatever, and they start taking them down because Xenoblade Chronicles X is finally coming to Nintendo Switch, right? Like, that's crazy to me. And I just don't agree with that. I really just don't agree with that. And if you do defend it and you do agree with that and you think that's okay or whatever, I don't like that mentality. I really don't. If you bash people that pirate or you bash piracy or whatever, like, everyone has their own personal beliefs, and I get that, but I really don't support that kind of mentality, because so far it's been routinely proven, at least in the gaming industry, it's especially, piracy is literally the only way to keep a lot of these games afloat. All right, so that's going to do it for this video. Sorry for the big old ramble fest. I just had to get those thoughts out there. I'll probably make a more concise, actually, like, well-edited whatever video. Maybe not. It just depends on how I'm feeling about the whole situation. But yeah, please understand where I'm coming from, and please share this video around. I really, 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 really want people to know how detrimental this is going to be because of how Nintendo acts on ROM sites and whatnot, and why backing these things up just won't be enough. And the damage it's going to cause on the industry and is massive. It's irreversible almost if this actually goes through. So Thank you all again for watching. I wish you all the best. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you guys in the next one that will hopefully be 20 times more happy than this.